Dear students, I'm very happy to see you in this video lecture on the course code U18 NCIT 16, course name Human Computer Interaction. And I'm Devi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology, working in Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, going to deliver you the lecture video on the topic Foundations of HCI. First, we are going to see about what is HCI. Human computer interaction, which is commonly referred to as HCI. Here, the researches the design and the use of computer technology, which is mainly focused on the interfaces between the people who are there, the users and the computers. So HCI researches the design and the use of computer technology, and which is focused on the interface between the people and the computers. Here, the researchers in the field of HCI, they will observe the ways in which the human interact with the computers and also the design technologies that let the human interact with the computers in the novel ways. User. By user, we may mean an individual user or a group of users working together. And appreciation of the way the people's sensory systems are, the sight, hearing, touch. They relay the information which is vital. Also, different users from different conceptions or the mental models about their interactions, and they will have the different ways of learning and keeping the knowledge. In addition, the user will involve in the cultural and national differences which plays a part in the users. Next, we are moving on to computers. When we talk about the computers, we are referring to a technology ranging from desktop computers to the scale computer systems. For example, if we are discussing the design of a website, then the website itself would be referred to as the computer. Here, the devices such as the mobile phones or the VCRs that can also be considered to be the computers. Computers means when we talk about the computers, we are referring to one technology which is ranging from the desktop computers to the large-scale computer systems. For example, if we are discussing the design of a website, then the website itself would be referred to as the computer. Here, the devices such as the mobile phones or the VCRs can also be considered to be the computers. It's the interaction. There are obvious differences between the humans and the machines. In spite of these, the HCI, which attempts to ensure that they both get on with each other and they will interact successfully. In order to achieve a usable systems, you need to apply what you know about the humans and the computers, and we need to consult with likely users throughout the design process. In the real systems, the schedule and the budgets are very important, and it is vital to find a balance between what would be ideal for the user and what is feasible in the realities. So this is an diagrammatic representation of human computer interactions. So under human, we'll be having a brain, the brain which senses the eye, hearing, touching and smelling. So through the computer which is characterized into hardware and the software. So under the hardware, we'll be having a peripheral hardware, the keyboards, the integrated circuits. And in the software, we'll be having the kernel space and the user space. So from the hardware, if the input is given to the software and from the software, the input will be into loop and it again goes to the hardware. From hardware, it goes to the human. So through this way, the human computer will interact. The goals of HCI. The goals of HCI are to produce the usable and the safe systems as well as the functional systems. So in order to produce the computer systems with good usability, the developers must attempt to understand the factors that will determine how the people use the technologies, and how they develop the tools and techniques to enable the building which is suitable systems, and it will also achieve the efficient, effective, and the safe interactions, put the people first. Underlying the whole theme of HCI, which is the belief that people using a computer system should come first. Their needs and capabilities and the preferences for conducting various tasks should direct the developers in the way that they design the systems. Here, the people should not have to change the way that they use a system in order to fit in with it. Instead, the system should be designed to match their requirements. Usability is added. Usability is one of the key concepts in HCA. It is concerned with making the system easy to learn and use. A usable system which is easy to learn, easy to remember how to use, is effective to use, efficient to use, safe to use, and at last it is enjoyable to use. Next, moving on to the factors in HCA. There are a large number of factors which should be considered in the analysis and design of a systems using HCI principles. The main factors are listed in the table below. First one will be the organization factors. The second one will be the user. Third will be the user interface. The first, organizational factors. So under the organizational factors, we'll be having the training, job design, politics, roles, work organization. The second one will be the environmental factors. Third one will be noise, heating, lighting, and ventilations. And the last one under the organizational factors, which is the health and safety factors. Next is the user. So under user, we'll be having a cognitive processes and the capabilities. Next, the motivation, enjoyment, satisfaction, personalities, and the experience. The third one will be the comfort factors. The last one will be the seating equipment and the devices. Next is the user interface. Input devices, output devices, the dialog structures, use of colors, icon commands, navigation, graphics, natural language, user support, and the multimedia. The task factors are, which is easy, complex, novel, task allocation, monitoring, skills. The constraints are the cost, timescales, budgets, staff, equipment, building systems. Under the functionality, we'll be having the hardware software applications. So under the productivity factors, increase output, increase quality, decrease cost, decrease errors, and increase innovation. Next will be disciplines contributing to human-computer interaction. The field of HCL, which covers a wide range of topics, and the development has relied on contributions from many disciplines. Some of the main disciplines which have contributed to HCA are the computer science, cognitive psychology, social psychology, ergonomics, human factors, linguistics, artificial intelligence, engineering and design. So these are the discipline which contributes to HCA. So under computer science, it's a technology which is a software design, development and maintenance which uses UIMS, which is an user interface management system, and also it uses an UIDE, which is a user interface development environment. Next, which is also used as a prototyping tools and the graphics. Under the cognitive psychology, which is an information processing, which is capabilities, limitations, which has the cooperative working, and it also has the performance predictions. So under the social psychology, we'll be having the social and organizational structures. Ergonomics and the human factors will be having a hardware design, and it will display the readabilities also. Linguistics means we will be having a natural language interface. Under the artificial intelligence, we'll be having an intelligence software. So under engineering and design, we'll be having a design, graphic design, and the engineering principles also. Next, moving on to the input-output channels. So here, a person's interaction with the outside world which occurs through the information being received and sent to the input of the output. In an interaction with the computer, the user receives the information that is output by the computer and they will respond by providing the input to the computers. Here, the user's output will become the computer's input and the vice versa. For example, the site may be used primarily in receiving the information from the computer, but it can also be used to provide the information to the computers. For example, by fixating on a particular screen point, when using an IT system, the input can be human, which occurs mainly through the sensors and output through the motor controls of the effectors. There are 5 major senses, that is, the sight, hearing, touch, taste, and the smell. Of these, the first 3 are the most important to HCA. The taste and the smell do not currently play a significant role in HCA, and it is not clear whether they will be exploited at all in general computer systems, although they could have a role to play in more specialized systems, such as smells to give the warning of malfunctions, or in augmented reality systems. The vision, hearing, and touch are the centrals. There are a number of effectors, including the limbs, fingers, eyes, head, and the vocal systems. In the interaction with the computer, the fingers play the primary role through typing or the mouse control, with some use of voice and the eye and the head and the body positions. Next. Image using a personal computer. Imagine using a personal computer, that is a PC, with a mouse and a keyboard. Now we are going to imagine that we are using a personal computer with a mouse and a keyboard. Application we are using has a graphical interface with the mouse, icons, and the windows. In our interaction with the systems, we receive the information primarily by the sight from what appears on the screen. The human eye, the vision that begins with the light. The eye, which is a mechanism for receiving the light, and it is transforming it into the electrical image. The light is reflected from the objects in the world, and the image is focused upside down on the back of the eye. Here, the receptors in the eye, they will transform it into the electrical signals which are passed to the brain. The eye has a number of important components. The cornea and the lens are the front of the eye, which focus on the light into a sharp image on back of the eye, the retina. The retina is light sensitive and it contains 2 types of photoreceptors, that is, rods and the cones. Moving on to the vision. The human vision, which is highly complex activity with a range of physical perception. The limitations under the visions, here we can roughly divide the visual perceptions into 2 stages. The physical receptions of the stimuli from the outside world and the processing and the interpretations of that stimulus. On the one hand, the physical properties of the eye and the visual system means that there are certain things that cannot be seen by the computer. On the other, the interpretative capabilities of visual processing, which allows the images to be constructed from incomplete information. Here, we need to understand both the stages as both influences what can and cannot be perceived visually by a human being, which indirectly affects the way that we design the computer systems. Here, we will begin by looking at the eye as a physical receptor and then go on to consider the processes involved in the basic visions. Next, moving on to the cones and rods. First, we are going to see about which is the second type of receptor in the eye. They are less sensitive to light than the rods and can therefore tolerate more lights. There are 3 types of cones, each sensitive to different wavelength of the lights. This will allow the color vision, the eye, which has approximately 6 million cones, mainly concentrated on the fovea, a small area of the retina on which the images are fixated. Next, moving on to the rods, which is highly sensitive to light and therefore allow us to see the visions of illumination. They are unable to resolve the fine details and are subjected to the light saturations. This is the reason for the temporary blindness we get when moving from a darkened room into the sunlight. The rods have been active and are saturated by the southern light. The cones do not operate either as they are suppressed by the rods. We are therefore temporarily unable to see at all. There are approximately 120 million rods per eye, which are mainly situated towards the edge of the retinas. Here, the rods are therefore dominate the peripheral visions. Next, moving on to the diagrammatic representation of the eye. See here, the image which is representing as an upside down at the back of the eye. This is a diagrammatic representation for a vision. Here, the retina, which is mainly covered with the photoreceptors. There is a one blind spot where the optic nerve which enters the eye. The blind spot has number of rods or the cones. Our visual system compensates for this so that in a normal circumstances, we are unaware of it. The retinas also has a specialized nerve cells which is called as ganglion cells. There are two types, that is X cells and the Y cells. Under the X cells, which is concentrated in the fovea and are responsible for the early detections of the patterns. Under the Y cells, which are more widely distributed in the retinas and are responsible for the early detections of the movements. The distribution of these cells means that while we may not be able to detect the changes in the pattern in the peripheral vision, we can perceive the movement. Next, the visual perception. The information received by the visual apparatus must be filtered and passed through the processing elements, which will allow us to recognize the coherent senses, disambiguate the relative distances, and also differentiate the colors. How does the eye perceive the size, depth, and the relative distances? To understand this, we must consider how the image appears on the retina. Reflected right from the object, which forms an upside down image on the retina. The size of the image is specified as the visual angle. The figure which illustrates how the visual angle is calculated. If we are drawing a line from top of the object to the central, in front of the eye and the supplement from the bottom of the object, in the same point, the visual angle of the object is the visual angle between the lines. The visual angle, which is affected by both the size of the object as well as its distance from the eye. Therefore, if the two objects are at the same distance, the larger one will have the larger visual angle. Similarly, if the two objects of the same size are placed at different distances from the eye, the furthest one will have the smaller visual angle. The visual angle, which indicates how much of the field of view is taken by the object. The visual angle measurement is given in either degrees or minutes of arc, where the 1 degree is equivalent to 60 minutes of arc, whereas the 1 minute of arc is equal to 60 seconds of an arc. Next, moving on to the perceiving brightness. An aspect of the visual perception, which is the perception of brightness. Here, the brightness is in fact a subjective reaction to levels of light. It is affected by the luminance, which is the amount of light emitted by an object. Here, the luminance of an object is dependent on the amount of light falling on the object surface and its reflective properties. The luminance, which is a physical characteristic, measured using a photometer. The contrast is related to the luminance. It is a function of the luminance of an object and the luminance of its background. Perceiving color. A third factor that we need to consider is the perception of color. The color is usually regarded as being, which is made up of three components: hue, intensity, and the saturations. The hue is determined by the spectral wavelength of the light. The blue have a short wavelength, green medium, and red is considered as long wavelength. Approximately 150 different hues can be discriminated by the average person. Intensity, which is the brightness of a color, and saturation is the amount of whiteness in the color. By varying these two, we can perceive in the region of 7 million different colors. Next, moving on to the memory. There are three types of memory function. First one will be the sensory memory. Second will be the short-term memory or a working memory. The last one will be the long-term memory. Between the sensory memory and the short-term memory, it is an attention phase. And in between the short-term and the long-term, it is a rehearsal phase. The selection of stimuli which is governed by the levels of arousals. Next, moving on to the sensory memory. The buffers for stimuli, this is received through the senses. That's an iconic memory, echoic memory, haptic memory. The iconic memory is referred to as visual stimuli. Echoic memory is referred to as oral stimuli. Haptic memory is a tactile stimuli. The examples of sensory memories are spark plug. This is a trial. Next one will be the stereo sound. And here the sensory memories are continuously overwritten. Next, moving on to the short-term memory, which is represented as STM. Here we use this scratch pad for the temporary recall. So under the short-term memory, we have the rapid access of 70 milliseconds. And the rapid delay count will be of 200 milliseconds. And the short-term memory, this is a limited capacity which contains about 7 plus or minus 2 chunks. So these are the counts which comes under the scratch pad for temporary recall under the short-term memory. Next, moving on to the long-term memory, which is an LTM. So it is a repository for all our knowledge, which has a slow access. The slow access in this means which is equivalent to 1 by 10 second. Next, it also contains slow decay. If any, it also has a huge or unlimited capacity. So under the long-term memory, we are having two types. The first one is the episodic. The second one will be the semantic. Episodic means it will be having a serial memory of events. Semantic means which contains the structured memory of facts, concepts, and the skills. Here, the semantic long-term memory is derived from the episodic LTM. Next, the semantic memory structure which provides the access to the information, which also represents the relationship between the bits of information. Here, the semantic memory structure which supports the inferences. The model of a semantic network, which is an inheritance. Here, the child node will inherit the parent. The child node will inherit the properties of the parent nodes. The relationship between the bits of information are explicit under long-term memory. Here, it supports the inference through the inheritance. So far, we have seen memory. The memory which contains three types, that is sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory. The attention phase which comes between the sensory memory and the short-term memory. The rehearsal phase which comes under the short-term memory and the long-term memory. Next, we have seen about the sensory memories. Here, the buffers for stimuli is received through the senses only. Here, we are having iconic memory, echoic memory, haptic memory. The The example we have used under the sensory memories are the sparklet thread and the stereo signals. Here the sensory memories are continuously overwritten. Next we have seen about the short-term memory. The short-term memory we have used as branchpad for the temporary recall. So its rapid access is about 70 milliseconds. It's a rapid decay of 200 milliseconds, which has a limited capacity of 7 plus or minus 2 chunks. Next, we have seen about the long-term memory. So long-term memory, here the repositories are used for all our knowledge. It's a slow access which contains 1 by 10 seconds, which also has a slow decay. Next, it will have a huge or unlimited capacity. Whereas in short term, we'll be having a limited capacity. In long term, we'll be having a huge or unlimited capacity. There are two types of long-term memory. They are episodic and the semantic. Semantic memory structure, which provides the access to the information, and it also represents the relationship between the bits of information, which also supports the inferences. Next, we are going to see about the models of long-term memory under frames, the models of long-term memory under scripts, and the models of long-term memory under the production rules. So first we are going to see about the models of long-term memory under the frames. So here we have the informations that are organized in the data structures. The slots in the structure which is initiated with the values for the instances of the data. Here we will be having a type of subtype relationship. So see the diagram. So first we will be having a dog. For the dog, we will be having a fixed one as legs. So we will be having 4 legs. The default or the diet, it is carnivorous, and its sound they will bark. The variables are the size and the color will vary. Next, it's a bride under the breed of the dog, which is a collie. So here we fixed as the breed of the dog. Next, the type of the dog is the sheepdog. The default size for the sheepdog, the default size is 35 centimeter, and the variables are the color will vary according to every breeds. Okay, this is the models of long-term memory under this phase. Next, moving on to the models of long-term memory, which is the scripts. So here, the models are stereotypical information which is required to interpret the situations. So here the scripts has elements that can be instantiated with the values for context. So the script for a visit to the veterinary. So for a visit to a veterinary hospital, we are going to write the script. The first is the entry condition. So the dog is ill. So for that, we need to open the veterinary. Next, we need to give the money. The ownership has the money. So dog is ill, veterinary open, owner has the money. So these are the entry conditions for visiting to the vet. The result will be the dog better, the owner is poorer, the vet is richer. Next, the properties are the examination table for the dog, the medicine, the instruments. So these are the properties. Next is the roles. The vet examines and it diagnoses and it also treats. What owner will do? The owner will bring the dog in and he will pay and takes the dog out. The scenes that comes under visiting to the vet are arriving at the reception, waiting in the room, and examination, and at last he will be paying the money for that examination. Tracks. The dog needs the medicine, the dog needs the operation. So these are the scripts for visiting to the veterinary hospitals. So which comes under the models of LTM under the scripts. Next, we are going to see about the models of LTM under the production rules. So it is a representation of procedural knowledge. So here we will be having the conditions or the action rules. If condition is matched, then use rule to determine that action. So if the if condition is matched, then we need to use the rule to determine that action. So consider the example. If the dog is wagging tail, then pack dog, or if the dog is growling, then run away. So these are the rules that comes under the long-term memory. So far we have seen about the introduction to HCI, which is here the research is the design and the use of computer knowledge, which is focused on the interfaces between the people and the computers. Next, we have seen in detail about the user, computer, and the interaction between the user and the computers. Next, we have seen a diagrammatic representation how the human and the computer interacts. Next, the goals of HCA. So under the goals of HCA, we have seen the usability. Factors in HCA are the organizational factors, the users, and the user interfaces. Next, we have seen about the disciplines contributing to HCA. We have several disciplines that contribute to the HCA are the computer science, cognitive psychology, social psychology, ergonomics. Next, linguistics, artificial intelligence, engineering and design. Next, we see in detail about the input-output channels under the HCA. So under the input-output channels, we have seen the vision in detail. So under vision, we have seen the human eye. So human eye, here the vision is characterized into two. One is rod and another is the pole. The rod is the first type of receptor and the pole is the second type of receptors. Next, we have seen the diagrammatic representation of the eye. Next, the visual perception, perceiving brightness, perceiving colors. Next, the memory. We have seen the memory in detail, and we have seen the three types of memory, which is the sensory memory, short-term memory, and the long-term memory. So under the long-term memory, we have seen the models of long-term memory for the frames, for the scripts, and for the production tools. Next, the LTM, which is used for the storage of information. So here we will be using for the rehearsal, total time hypothesis, distribution of practice effort, optimized by spreading learning over time, and the last one will be structure, meaning, and the familiarities. Next is the LTM forgetting and the LTM retrieval. The LTM forgetting, we are going to see about the interference and the decay. So under the LTM retrieval, we are going to see about the recall and the recognition. So here we need to reproduce from the memory that is assisted by the cues. The examples of categories are the imaginary. For recognition, which is less complex than the recall, here the information is cue. The information which gives the knowledge that it will be being seen before. So this is what the storage of information. So under the storage of information, we have seen the LTM for forgetting and LTM for retrieval.